I'm Dr. Barry, licensed psychologist, and here we talk about true crime and psychology. Thank you so much for joining. Let's hop right into today's topic. Let's go.
Welcome. And I wasn't sure which video I was going to do today. And when I saw on Court TV's channel that they are airing the episode where I was a guest, they are airing that today in about an hour and 15 minutes. So 7:15 Eastern. And I do have the link in the description, and I also have it down. Yes, I have it pinned in the pinned live comment. Thank you all so much for all of the encouragement and support. You all are the best. And thank you for the people that were able to join live. I will talk a little bit more about my experience with the recording towards the end of this video. But first, I wanted to talk about and clarify a few things about my thoughts and perspective on the Sarah Grace Patrick case. And really, with this case, I don't have enough information to form like any strong opinion. So, because somebody commented that I was assuming she was guilty, and that wasn't my assumption. In the video, I was probably talking about, okay, this is what could be going on in this situation, or this is how I could see this, but I don't know. And this is going to be up to a jury. And I saw on Pretty Lies and Alibis over on her channel talking about this case, she talked about how refreshing it is to maybe go into a case not really knowing the evidence, because we are going to hear it right along with the jury. So as the jury is hearing this information, we are going to be hearing this information for the very first time. We haven't seen her police interview. We don't know what evidence the state has. And really, I think that does help us go into a case in a more open-minded way. Now, people still want to talk about the case. And so that's why I think, and it's an interesting one that I think grabs people's attention. And my heart truly does go out to the family, because especially the Sarah's half sister that lost both of her, she saw, like, she's the one that discovered their deceased bodies. Um, because that's in one of my videos, that's what I focused on, just the trauma that individual experienced. A lot of people are skeptical, and so I am a little skeptical about whether Sarah wouldn't have heard any pew pews, but I don't know the layout of the house. So maybe with the layout of the house, maybe it would have been harder to hear something like that. We don't have the weapon in this case. And so there are a lot of what ifs in this. And so that's where and I do get that people are concerned that she's being judged by her social media posts. And that's why I do think the defense is going to try to block some of those posts and some of those things coming in. Now, the jury could be ages 18 all the way up into, however, 60, 70, 80. The jurors might be a nice mix of different generations. And if there is someone on the jury that's under the age of 30, that's like 30 and younger, I think they would truly understand um, that type of posting and what could have been going on. But there are lots of teens that engage in behavior, because on the Court TV, so I will play that part. Okay. I was gonna save it to the end. Okay, I'm gonna save it to the end. But I'm gonna come back to this later, because that was one of the questions and really the theme of the episode with Vinny was, does her behavior impact how people might view this case? Right? And Hey, all right. So I'm just checking. If y'all have questions, if you could put question marks in front of it, it makes it easier to see it. Thank y'all so much for the congratulations. Um uh and so welcome back. Welcome back. All right. With this case, I wanted to take a look at the expert. So the trial was delayed until August 3rd due to the state and the defense is waiting on the final report from Dr. Schaefer. Okay, so it's Dr. Robert Schaefer. And if y'all like following cases, and I do have a link to this video down in the description as well. Lawyer Lee covered the defendant's notice for expert testimony of Robert Schaefer and highlighted the fact that he might testify regarding a clinical evaluation. And then there was something interesting that popped up with this. Here we go. It's right here. That the forensic evaluation could be used for determination of competency and criminal responsibility, neuropsychological testing, crisis intervention, critical incident debriefing, and some of those other things. But there was also a mention of him specializing in ah specifically for families in crisis, that he specializes in working with families in crisis. And when I took a look at his website, he has testified in over 17 states. He's done over 1,000 forensic evaluations. This is all according to his website. And something that he takes a look at is neuropsychological concepts that can come under questions. I would have a question of if he's normally called by the defense. Is he ever called by the state to do the evaluation? And just kind of researching him a little bit, I came across the fact that he evaluated Frederick Rogers. That was a case out of, my gosh, y'all know me and places and names. I'm gonna type it in um, because he testified in the penalty phase of that case. Um, it was in Alabama, and he ended up being sentenced to life in prison without parole. And I think he might have, was he facing the death penalty? Let me see what he was facing. Doo, doo, doo. And it's my understanding that Dr. The doctor testified that Mr. Rogers had bipolar disorder and a history of a chaotic family environment. We do not know what defense, if the defense is going to be Sarah didn't do it. We don't know if that's the defense. We don't know what the defense is going to be. They could use this doctor to potentially explain some of the behavior in Sarah's interviews and also her behavior after, like how trauma or how a major life stressor might impact a 16-year-old that was then interviewed for 4 hours. And so that's where we'll definitely take a look at that. Somebody mentioned that it was the alarm that woke up the younger sister. It's just so sad, so sad. Somebody mentioned that the younger sister didn't hear anything either. Just super duper sad. Because I thought Sarah mentioned that she heard the alarm going off too. And so this part of it got me, and also this is Sarah, yeah, stepdad. Because if y'all watch the episode where I was on Court TV, so Sarah's mother's father, so Sarah's maternal grandfather, really paints the picture that things were going really well in the family. They had really turned over a new leaf. They were going to church, that things were really positive. And I mentioned the fact that, yes, that if that was true, if that was how things were, but I don't know if that was an accurate picture of what family life was really like. So a person can go to church and be having issues at home. A person can so I don't know what was really happening in that environment. Often the defense will, if there are things in the past that they can bring up, they often will. So I haven't heard of the state trying to limit any of the past legal issues, because it's my understanding that the stepfather was a convicted felon, so he wasn't supposed to be able to own a weapon. I don't know if the past CPS involvement will come in, but if the neuropsychologist would be able to talk about some of those things, unless that testimony was limited, and that would be a decision with the courts, the judge. So we will definitely see what happens with all of that. Um, I All right. And so let's go on ahead and talk about the experience of being on Court TV. Like, that was so much fun. The showrunner, so the producer sent me the flow of the show, and the questions, like the main questions that would be asked for the segment, and I was able to kind of prepare and think about what I might say. So it was nice to kind of know that there was a description of how things would go. Once the show started, so it was live last night at 9 p.m. on Court TV Live, so on their website. That's where it was live on Monday when it was recorded. And the link they use, uh I could hear the producer talking. I could see the other guest. Like, it was a really cool system. And so it was really cool to get to see some of the behind the scenes, and everybody was super kind. Like, everything went super smooth. I did understand, because Afton mentioned, like, hey, if you have any technical issues, you kind of have to resolve those. But I'm pretty tech savvy, so I was prepared with my camera, my mic. Their producer, like, they had me make sure that my camera was, like, they were like, move over. Like, they made sure that things were lined up in a way that would look good, which was nice. So a link to the episode. So 7:15 tonight. So it is the pinned comment. Okay. So it should be right here in the chat. It's the pinned comment. And then it's also in the description as well. It starts at 7:15. All right. And question, do you think Sarah being blonde? So juries, I don't think, are biased by those things. I think juries listen to evidence. Um, I I think I don't know if the state is going to try to say that there were two different sides to Sarah. Like, I don't know what the state is going to do, and it's normal. So the way I show up on social media, if you see me in real life, I normally don't have on makeup. So right before I went live here, I put on a little bit of concealer. I do use StreamYard, has a beauty filter. When I went on Court TV, I did my full face of actual makeup. I didn't do eyeliner because I was worried about my eyes watering and then that causing problems. And so, like, the idea that somebody might doll themselves up to be online, like, that can be kind of normal. Like, but I don't know if the state is going to try to go at, like, credibility, and, like, because so certain character evidence will likely be limited, and so we will see what happens with that. Um, Yes. And so I have definitely heard of the history with the parents. That's where I think over on Pretty Lies and Alibis, she gave a what we know so far. I've also seen it talked about a few other places. All right. So let me go on ahead and share my screen so we can. I'm just going to play a short segment from what's going to air tonight. So if you don't, yeah. And I will be in the chat, like, but I'm gonna be eating dinner. So I need to eat dinner. So I will be eating dinner. So I believe Vinny is about to ask me about Sarah's behavior online. So about the allegations of activities with boys and then also substances. That's what he's gonna ask about.
Dr. Berry, in that defense motion, it seems one of the things they're getting at, and you have to kind of read between the lines a little bit, there are things that they don't want in front of this jury, right? And they say it's connected to allegations of promiscuity and drug use. And my guess is, from reading the papers, is that it may be stuff that was gathered from her cell phone or someone else's cell phone, that maybe she's exchanging pictures or talking about things or doing things. Do you find anything outlandish about that, or something about that could potentially be connected to what happened inside that home?
I'm definitely interested to hear what comes back with the neuropsychological evaluation, especially if there's anything about impulse control, judgment, and the quality of her social relationships, because I think those things might tie into what could or might not have happened in this case. And then also her ability to manage her emotions, and if there's any history of aggression. Those would be things that would stand out to me that might point in one direction or another.
And again, Tony, you're 100.
That's so weird. It was so cool. It was a really, really fun experience. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. They have little segments in between. And so they come back for a second question. And so once that second set of questions is asked, then there's another expert that's on for the later portion of the show. And so this is a question. Dr. Berry, are you concerned with Sarah being put into solitary for so many months in an adult jail despite her only being 16 when it happened? Could that be detrimental to her mental health? A similar situation happened to Carly Gregg. And so she's 17 now. And I don't know if they have a youthful offenders unit. I don't know if she's still in solitary. Solitary is not great for a person because you're normally there for like for large portions of the day, but a piece of that is for her safety. So if she's in with general population, that's where there can be a greater risk of her of her being harmed. And so they do often put young offenders in solitary, and it's supposed to be for their safety. I do hope that she has access to therapy. I don't know if she would or if she wouldn't. And then I do hope that the family is able to visit. I know her attorney wanted to move forward with the case yesterday, but there was no way. Their expert has not finalized the report. They only have a preliminary report, which sometimes the preliminary report, things are mostly finalized, but they can't give the state a final report. And based on the preliminary report, the state knows they want to hire their own expert. And that process can take 2 to 3 months. And so the date being pushed off to August, I do know that the family is, I understand, when I say I do know, I don't know personally, but like I could imagine that the family would be upset with it being placed off. Okay. I agree that solitary is difficult for any person. So Marissa, it's my understanding that there may be some digital evidence, because remember, we do not know what evidence the state actually has. So the defense filed a motion. So I do think there is something that points in this direction, because the defense filed a motion asking for these things to not be mentioned. And I don't believe the judge has ruled on that motion yet, but the defense filed a motion to limit mentions of those things. Okay. Um, and so, all right. Yeah. And so, but to get that second expert, so a neuropsychological can take, like I said, it can take 2 to 3 months for it to be complete, and then you have to give the expert time to finalize the report as well. And so, and it was the judge's calendar as well. It's my understanding the judge, he had 1 or 2 dates available, and if they went with the earlier date, there was concern that it could still they might not be ready. And so by securing this August date, the judge has said he's not putting it off again. So it should definitely happen by that August date. I don't know if the defense will attempt to file for bond again. They might let that go. But I don't know if at some point they might try to file for bond with specific things where she has no contact with her younger sister. There was concern that I think the family members or the people that aren't fully on Sarah's side, they would be concerned that any things that the young child does remember, that they just want to make sure that there's no like witness intimidation or anything like that. And to my knowledge, that hasn't happened, but I think the state was concerned that that was a possibility. Okay. All right. All righty. And so, because they're charged with an adult offense, I don't know if it's a legal statute why they don't hold them in a juvenile detention center, but the same thing happened to Carly Gregg. Because she was charged as an adult, they hold them in the adult jail. Now, once a person is convicted, then sometimes they might be able to be sometimes something can happen different after the conviction, like if someone is convicted. But up until that point, they normally, for some reason, when they're charged as an adult, they bring them over to the adult prison. Like it's just how our system works. All right. All right. And um And so those are my thoughts so far. I will be in the comments over on the Court TV video at 7:15. And let me know if y'all have any additional questions. I did watch pieces of the Uvalde. So there's an officer that was charged with failing to respond in the Uvalde school incident from a few years ago. That trial is currently happening. The testimony is really like it can get a little intense, and even the defense attorney said like there are going to be strong emotions. There are going to be things that the jury is going to see that is going to bring up big emotions. But the defense attorney specifically said, "Don't get emotional." And I think because Court TV had a poll up of who did better, the state or the defense. And it was kind of half and half, where a lot of people thought the defense did well, and then people thought that the state did well. That's a case that I will keep an eye on as well. Of course, watching the other major cases that we're following, and then I'll be live again Saturday at around 2 p.m. Eastern. And depending on what's happened this week, we might cover multiple things, or there might just be one main case that's covered on Saturday. I'm hungry, y'all. I need to go eat. I so appreciate you all. This one will be a shorter one. I will see you all next time. Have a great day. Bye.